For the final conference semifinal preview, we have the best NBA team from the regular season, Utah Jazz, taking on the 4th-seeded Los Angeles Clippers. In the first round of the playoffs, Utah Jazz had to go through the Memphis Grizzlies, who earned their playoff spot by winning 2 play-in games. My prediction was Jazz in 5 games, and it all came to fruition. Utah lost the first game of the series in large part because Donovan Mitchell still wasn't ready to play. When Mitchell returned, it all went right for the Jazz. In Game 2 of the series, Ja Morant put up a masterpiece, scoring 47 points, but that didn't help as 7 Jazz players scored in double digits and in the end overwhelmed the Grizzlies. Then, the Jazz took 2 comfortable wins on the road, traveled back to their home with a 3-1 lead, and got a comfortable 16-point win to end the series in 5 games. Not surprisingly, the best scorer on the Jazz was Donovan Mitchell. He averaged 28.5 points on 40% shooting from the 3. He was the best scorer, but actually every Jazz player contributed in this series, as a total of 6 Jazz players averaged double-digit points and 5 of them averaged more than 17.4 points per game. So a total team effort here. And as we used a word team, as a whole team, in the first round, the Utah Jazz averaged 123.4 points per game, which was the second best result out of 16 playoff teams. They made 48.8% of their field goals and 40.6% of their threes. Defensively, the Jazz held the Grizzlies to 115 points per game, finishing as the 10th best defense in the first round. They allowed their opponents to connect on 46.8% of their field goals and 32.9% of their threes. On the other side of the bracket, we have the Los Angeles Clippers, who just beat Dallas Mavericks in 7 games. My prediction was that the Clippers would take it in 7 games, so I was perfectly correct for these 2 teams. But wow, what a series. Only 1 out of 7 games in the series was won by a home team, and it was Game 7. It couldn't have started worse for the Clippers. They lost the first 2 home games and the team looked out of sync. Then they won 2 road games in Dallas, and it seemed like they were on the right track. Then another home loss in Game 5, and the Clippers were on the brink of elimination. But the team won the next 2 games, including a home game in Game 7, and they are the ones to move on to the next round. With the exception of a couple moments, Kawhi was great in this series. He averaged 32 points and 8 rebounds on 62% shooting from the field and 42.5% from the 3. With 1 more made free throw, he would have joined a 60-40-90 club. Paul George, except shooting threes, was also very good. He concluded the series averaging 23.6 points, 9 rebounds, and almost 6 assists. Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris also averaged double-digit points. As a team, the Clippers averaged 111.1 points per game, ranking as the 9th best offense in the first round of the playoffs. Defensively, they held Dallas to 106 points per game, which ranked as the 6th best result. So what can we expect from this series? The teams met 3 times during the regular season, with Utah winning 2 of those games. There was only one 18-point blowout, and the other 2 games were close to the final seconds. And that 18-point blowout happened when there was no Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Nick Batum, and Luke Kennard. So there's nothing really big we can take away from these games. The first thing we can take into account is rest versus rust. By the time these teams play Game 1, the Jazz will have had 5 full days off. The Clippers, on the other hand, just finished their series on Sunday and the first game is on Tuesday. So it's the old question of what's better, having a longer rest or being in a rhythm and playing every 2 days. We might get that answer in Game 1. The Jazz looked rusty in Game 1 against the Grizzlies after having an extended break. How will they look in Game 1 of the semifinals? From an injury standpoint, Mike Conley re-aggravated the right hamstring injury in Game 5 versus Grizzlies. Later, he was diagnosed with a mild right hamstring strain, and his status for Game 1 versus the Clippers is unclear. The Clippers don't have the highest class point guards, but for the Jazz, Conley is a very valuable piece. As for the Clippers, who will be their point guard? Rondo doesn't look like he did last year with the Lakers, and Patrick Beverley at this point is non-existent. Look for a heavy dose of Reggie Jackson and some Terrence Mann. Another weak point for the Clippers are the bigs. Rudy Gobert is one of the best defensive players in the league. Offensively, he has his weaknesses, but you can count on him getting his double-double every night. I think the rebounding edge goes to the Jazz. Defensively, it's hard to see any of the Clippers' bigs having a great offensive series because of the presence of Rudy Gobert, but their offense very rarely comes from bigs. The Clippers like to shoot their threes and they're efficient at it, so for Jazz defense, they better guard the three-point line well. As for the Clippers, like usual, they will have to rely on their superstar wings, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Like I mentioned before, Kawhi was excellent against Dallas, but Utah has a tougher defense, so it's hard to imagine him having a 67.5% effective field goal percentage against Utah. Also an interesting stat, in the last 2 seasons, Kawhi has had his lowest field goal percentage specifically against Utah Jazz, and his effective field goal percentage against them is just 38.2%. Now, I don't expect the drop-off to be so drastic, but he should have a tougher time against Utah. And obviously, Paul George. Will the playoff P fold once again in the biggest moments? I'm sure he still remembers last year's nightmare. He performed well against the Mavericks, and even though he didn't shoot the ball particularly well, he did a lot of other things like pass, rebound, and defend to help the Clippers. But we've seen that before. He's had great series, and then when it's time to deliver, he misses shot after shot. It could happen versus Utah as well. This should be a fun series to watch. The Clippers have 2 superstars, but the Jazz also have one in Donovan Mitchell, who isn't afraid of the moment and making clutch shots. And at least in the regular season and first playoff round, the Jazz look like a well-oiled machine. They have a great combination of young players and vets, defense and offense. Let's also not forget that the Jazz have some great reserves, specifically Jordan Clarkson, who wasn't at his best against the Grizzlies but will play a big role in this series. I'm still not sure how clutch this Clippers team is. They kinda responded to the challenge against the Mavericks in Game 7, but the Utah Jazz is another beast. My prediction for this series? The Utah Jazz take this series in 7 games. I just feel that the Clippers will somehow disappoint us again. I just feel that it's bound to happen, so 7 games and the Jazz move on to the conference finals. What is your prediction for this series? Can the Clippers make the conference finals? Will we receive another disappointing loss from the Clippers? Who will be the best player in this series? Please leave your comment down below. Don't forget to like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks. This was Purple Prince, and I'm out.